don't have a league in the playoffs, you can probably just turn it right off right now. It doesn't really matter. But let's hit up the key injuries. Dave, why don't you start?
Sounds good. A couple key ones, actually. A.J. Green appeared to re-injure the toe that kept him out of the 3 games. He was placed on IR today, so he's definitely done for the year. Kareem Hunt was an idiot and had some poor choices that he made last year in January and February, so he's suspended and he's on the commissioner's list of people that cannot play, so he'll be out for the rest of the year as well.
Let's talk about that for a second. So they knew of an instance, right? Of course, the NFL doesn't pay for video, so they'll never pay someone, and that person, the lucky security guard that pulled that video, probably sold it to TMZ, and it came out way later. But apparently, the story that Kareem Hunt talked about did not line up with what really happened. I think he was claiming it wasn't him and things like that, and clearly you could see it was. So apparently, the NFL has zero tolerance for domestic abuse, as you've seen before, especially after the Ray Rice thing, which was, I think the Ray Rice thing was a level higher than this, but at the same time, zero tolerance, set an example. He got cut by the team. Brutal for owners, but if you didn't handcuff Spencer Ware, shame on you. You are not an A+ fantasy player if you did not handcuff your guys. It's just the way it is. This happens every single year to people. There's leagues I picked up Ware in right away. As soon as that happened, I went right to it. And, it was past most waivers, so I was able to just grab them. And in my league with you, Dave, where we're in the playoffs, I had Kareem Hunt and Spencer Ware I handcuffed. But, I'm sure a lot of people checked and saw that. That's why if you have a good running back, make sure you back him up.
Definitely, especially on a high-scoring team like that, because their backup's going to put up points as well.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah, and the thing was, too, is that Hunt lied to the Chiefs, actually, too. That's what they didn't really like, so that was another reason they cut him as well.
Yeah.
So they the fact that he lied to them, so.
Mm-hmm. He lied. His story didn't match up, like I said.
Yeah, so he's donezo. So another major injury is going to be Greg Olsen. Suffered a ruptured plantar fasciitis.
It's called the plantar fascia. It's a bone in your foot, and it happens to. It seems to happen to a lot of the skill guys, receivers, and stuff like that, and it hurts when you run on that thing. So no reason for him to try to play. It's broken. He's done for 3-4 months.
Yeah, so he's done for the year as well. Gronkowski. Another one, he briefly left the game. He's been fighting a couple of different injuries, back and ankle, so you might want to just keep an eye on that. He did come back into the game, but you definitely want to keep an eye on him. A major IDP player, Chris Harris Jr., suffered a broken right leg in Sunday's win over the Bengals, so he's out for the rest of the year as well. And then James Conner, actually, left the game. They said it with a right foot injury, but they're saying it might be as a high ankle sprain as well. So he could miss a game or two, so we'll talk about who to pick up in his place as well. And then Matt Breida, been fighting an ankle issue as well. He left the game, did come back briefly, but he played very limited snaps in this past week's game as well.
Yeah, Breida, he's going to miss next week. Shanahan came out and said that late today. James Conner, what they're saying is his leg's not that bad, and he can probably play next week. I mean, I'd still, be nervous if I was a Conner owner going into the playoffs, which, you shouldn't even be there anyway if you're lucky. But, I guess I think Conner's going to play. So, all the Le'Veon Bell owners are wishing he wouldn't, but I'm sure I think he's definitely going to play. So, more updates on that coming through the week. We'll keep an eye on them. But you nailed everything I had, and not too bad. A couple defensive guys got hurt, and I think that IDP players, you can go over them, but in most cases you can just fill one in. But most importantly, the injuries to AJ Green, which I'm an owner of AJ Green in a league, and that's going to be a tough one to swallow.
And there's actually a couple other ones ahead, too. Christian Kirk, the young promising rookie, he broke his right leg as well, so he's out for the rest of the year. They did place him on IR as well today. And then Gus Edwards did re-aggravate his ankle injury late in that game. He didn't come back in the game as well, but they said he should be okay for this week's game. And then Chris Carson actually just located a finger. Running backs don't care about their fingers, though. They can still play with those. And then actually, we were just talking about this, the handcuff for Todd Gurley. Malcolm Brown actually sustained a shoulder injury. He may be out several weeks, so you might be wanting to look at picking up John Kelly as his handcuff now.
Oh, yeah, good call. Absolutely. Yeah, John Kelly, he'd be the next guy. But in some cases, when it gets down to the third string running back, they end up picking somebody up, like a C.J. Anderson or something, and that could screw you as well. So be careful with that, is all I'm saying. But fair enough, man. Let's move right into the waiver wire. I'll go ahead and start out. And, of course, Spencer Ware, right? But I think people snagged up Spencer Ware last week. If for some reason your waivers lock after Thursday or whatever, after the Thursday game, I think it was Friday this was announced, right? Then you still might be able to get him. But he's the main guy. And Damian Williams is his handcuff. So don't be stupid and pick up Damian Williams if you're a Spencer Ware owner. It's real important. Just like you saw, injuries can happen to anybody. You need this guy running for 3 weeks. He is, unfortunately, a downgrade to Kareem Hunt. They're probably going to spread it up. As a matter of fact, they just signed Chandrick West. And I don't know how quickly he's going to get involved. I think it would be a couple weeks before he's up and running. I mean, but he does know the playbook, so he can almost fit in right away. But he's another one to think about for Kansas City. Jalen Samuels is the handcuff for James Conner, I believe, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So grab him if you're a Conner owner. Dante Pettis, wide receiver, had 7 targets and 129 yards for San Fran, 2 TDs. He had a monster game, so pick him up. Chase Edmonds, running back for Arizona, is kind of like the handcuff for David Johnson, but they're not running Johnson as much. Their season's about done, so they're going to be running their second running back a lot, I think, and just to make sure Johnson doesn't get injured again. So when a team's done, they sometimes they spread it out a little bit more. Jordy Nelson had 11 targets, and he's been long and forgotten about, but he's back healthy, so pick him up if you need him. Chris Conley, wide receiver from Kansas City, had 7 targets and could be bigger this week. It just really depends upon Sammy Watkins' health, right? Chris Conley's on a ton of benches. David Moore for Seattle, if we haven't said that already. David Moore is a big pickup. He's, last few weeks he did good. Not so much last week, but he's a guy to look at. And a running back for San Francisco that you're going to need is Jeff Wilson, I believe. I believe he's going to be used more than Morris or anybody else when it comes to backing up Matt Breida. He'll be starting next week. So if you're a Breida owner, you better get Jeff Wilson. Who do you have, Dave?
Just a few other small ones. Rookie Ian Thomas, he's going to be taking over for Olsen for the rest of the year, so if you need a tight end. He had 5 catches for 46 yards this past week, so he'd be a good pickup if you want someone to fill in for Greg Olsen. And then J.J. Nelson, a speedy wide receiver for the Bengals.
The Cardinals.
He's going to be replacing Kirk, who's actually out as well. And if you didn't pick up Justin Jackson last week, he broke out in the fourth quarter this last week. He finished the game with 9 touches for 82 yards and a touchdown. So if he is still out there for some reason, definitely pick him up. Another guy, too, is Curtis Samuel for the Panthers. His touchdown streak ended at 2 games, but he had career highs in targets with 11 and receptions in 6. And then he had 88 receiving yards as well. So moving forward, he might see an uptick in targets and receptions as well with Olsen out for the rest of the year. And then Chris Godwin, some people might have forgotten about this guy. He had a monster week this past week, went off 101 receiving yards and a touchdown on 5 receptions. So he's another guy you might want to take a look at. And then Jameis Winston, second nice game in a row for him. So if you needed a quarterback, hopefully you won't need someone like this for the playoffs. Your team's pretty much set. But if you do for some reason, Jameis Winston has a nice matchup this week playing the Saints. And he has had 2 nice games in a row as well. And then most of the other ones I had were the ones you already covered. Thank you.
Yeah, I tell you, if you're a Matt Ryan owner, you're worried. I mean, the dude's been getting like in the single digits the last few weeks. I'm a Matt Ryan owner, and then unfortunately my other one is Kirk Cousins, and he's been in the single digits. So that's not, and I'm in the playoffs, so it's not crazy to think about picking up, picking up Jameis. I mean, if you have Jared Goff, look at who he plays, the Chicago Bears, at the Chicago Bears this week. I mean, how comfortable are you going to be starting Jared Goff? I mean, he still might get his points, but there's a good chance that you might be able to find Case Keenum or somebody that's playing San Francisco, right? Instead of taking a chance with Goff against a very good Chicago Bears team. And they just won their division too, so this is kind of a letdown spot for the Rams. Let's get into our breakout players then. Dave, who do you have?
A couple guys I do like. I do like Josh Allen, actually, for the Bills. A guy I talked about a little bit last week. He had over 100 yards rushing again this week and a couple touchdowns too. So I do like Josh Allen against the Jets defense. He'd be one of my guys I like busting out this week. The other guy we just talked about, actually, Jameis Winston. I do like him this week. And then a guy we forgot to talk about too is Adam Humphries. Him and Godwin have both been playing well over the last 2 weeks with Winston starting. So I like both of those receivers. And then, of course, Evans, but he's going to be your starting already. But the breakout guys I like on the Buccaneers are definitely Godwin and Humphries. And they're playing the Saints, who's a nice matchup. So definitely get them in there. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson, it sounds like he's going to start again for Flacco. So if you do have him, if he's still out there, definitely a guy I like to break out against the Chiefs. With their porous defense, and it's always high scoring when they're playing. And then a guy we talked about before too is Gus Edwards. If he's healthy and rolling, he could be a nice breakout guy too. But the guys backing him up too, they did activate Kenneth Dixon, and Ty Montgomery's actually been getting some more looks too. So if he is injured or he does go out of the game, those are two running backs that could break out this week as well.
No, good call, absolutely. I like Josh Allen there. I like what you said there. That's true. I have Case Keenum versus I think he's going to have a good game versus San Fran's terrible defense. They've been awful, and I think Keenum's going to put up some points. You saw what Seattle did to him last week. Jeff Wilson, running back for San Fran, he's going to with Breda out. Denver's does not have a good run D. Jeff Wilson is a starter for sure this week if Breda is out, and I believe he is. So definitely look at Jeff Wilson. Antonio Callaway, wide receiver for Cleveland. Wow, he's going to be playing Carolina's terrible pass defense. I like Callaway as kind of a sleeper-ish play this week. If you have him, he's worth a start, I believe. Aaron Jones for the Packers versus Atlanta's terrible run D. Yep, Aaron Jones. I believe he's going to have a monster game after they fired their coach. Austin Eckler, running back for San Diego versus Cincinnati's very poor D. And, anybody for anybody playing Cincinnati should be started, that's for sure. You can even take a chance on Mike Williams for the Chargers. Michael Gallup, I think he's going to have a decent game versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia doesn't have much of a cornerbacks and defensive backs, safeties. They're kind of injured. I know the Redskins played against them, so you can't really judge by that game, but I like Michael Gallup getting open. And David Johnson, I think I know he's going to split some time, but he's going to get a lot of yards versus Detroit, I believe. But
I did have some of the other ones too that I did like too. Some of the ones that you said, I do like Chase Edmonds against the Lions, and then I do like Justin Jackson against the Bengals. And then the Raiders, I do like the muscle hamster, Doug Martin. He's been playing well lately. I like him against the Steelers D. And I do like Gallup as well for the Cowboys.
All right. Well, then, Dave, who is your nasty sleeper of the week that's going to help someone win Week 14 of their playoff game?
I'm going with Justin Jackson for the Chargers. We were just talking about him briefly, but against the poorish Bengals run defense, I do like Justin Jackson. I think he's going to be getting more carries this week than Eckler will. So I'm going with Justin Jackson for the San Diego Chargers as my D-Nasty sleeper of the week.
No, I like it. I think he is going to get a lot of carries. And you're right. He was kind of a beast last week. I have For my sleeper, I have Aaron Jones versus Atlanta. Atlanta can't stop anybody.